War can come at any time, even on your own doorstep, so that's why you always gotta be prepared. This is Battalion Wars for the GameCube. Battalion Wars was a GameCube exclusive title from 2005. As you might be able to tell from its art style, it's actually a part of the Advance Wars series. I, as well as many others, really enjoyed this game for all the new experiences it brought to the table. Despite the game being really the first of its kind, at least for Nintendo, its success didn't reflect its quality. This game was released in the last year of the GameCube's life cycle, a mere 3 months before Microsoft entered the console market and released the first next-gen console, the Xbox 360. And not too far after that, the Wii and PS3 saw light. Regardless, I have some pretty fond memories of this game. So let's take a look and see why it was so memorable. Battalion Wars was Nintendo's attempt at a war game. The first thing you'll notice about it is its art style. Everything about this game is just sort of charming. All of the little grunts have these weird disproportionate bodies, all the weapons have weird scales, even the vehicles are just clever looking. Despite the fact that this game is about war and conflict, the art style does a great job of keeping a bright, cheery mood. I mean, the key components of this game were really strategy and critical thinking. The game wasn't about trying to show the terrors of war, and it wasn't about glorifying it with huge crazy action sequences, so it really doesn't need realistic visuals. It's the same sort of idea as Team Fortress 2. Nintendo isn't trying to make any sort of statement, they just want to make a fun game. And so the art style reflects this. So obviously, a game about fighting wars has to have opposing sides, right? Well, there are 4 nations in the game. Each one has their own variation of the same design, with their own level of quirkiness. The main group controlled by the player, the Western Frontier, aka the USA, has a really nice toy soldier sort of thing going on. Everything is this nice bright green, all the vehicles have funny wheels and shapes. I really love all the cute little battle chatter that goes on while you're doing a mission. You get to hear your troops all talking amongst one another, but they have these really high-pitched voices. I don't know, something about it just gets to me.
You're in charge, sir.
Here goes nothing. It's quiet. Too quiet. Take a care of her, sir.
This is where Delta Company got wiped out 3 days ago.
We're under attack.
Right. He's had it, Commander.
Then there's the Tundrans, aka Russia, who use a mostly red color palette, and whose vehicles are actually designed to look like farm equipment. Their tanks and recons are just the coolest. They're straight up just tractors with turrets and flamethrowers on them. That's so cool. I love it! There's the Solar Empire, aka Japan. This one seems the most offensive to me. For some reason, they have this sort of futuristic thing going on. All their guns and tanks use laser beams. And most of their soldiers have sandals, straw hats, and even flags hanging off their backs. Finally, there's the Exylvanians. These guys are the only ones that are hard to determine a real-life counterpart. First off, they're all vampires. I'm not kidding. They're literally all vampires. That's right. There's a whole country full of vampires. So their army, of course, is all made up of vampire soldiers. So personally, I think that kind of kills the war theme of the game, but whatever.
Blast those cowards out of the sky!
So it's clear that the name Exylvania is supposed to be based on Transylvania, the home of Dracula. But for some reason, they seem to have German accents, and they frequently use the word Kaiser, German for emperor.
Proceed to the narrow side fields of the Dune Sea as planned.
As you wish, Herr Kaiser.
Their vehicles all have a very industrial look to them, which just screams German. Each one of these nations has a couple of main characters, unplayable in the game, but who appear in cutscenes to help the progression of the story. The game starts off with the Americans doing some field exercises and spotting some Russian spies in their territory.
He must be a Tundran spy. After him!
You've got this short, stout guy named Herman. The American tanks in the game are actually named after him, get it? Because Herman is like the Shermans, the real-life tanks that we... Also, I just noticed that there's a Hawaiian dancer on his tie. Okay! Then there's Obama and Reggie's secret love child. And finally, Brigadier Betty. She's straight up designed to look like a cheerleader. Why? In a game where soldiers look like this, tanks look like this, and military generals look like this, why does she have to be a cheerleader? At first, I thought her design was meant to make her look like a pinup girl, and I suppose that would go with the happy, cheery war theme they're trying to go for, but she's not. She's just straight up a cheerleader. Whatever. The other nations have pretty weird characters too. Like Russia has, well, President Bad Russian Guy from Rocky IV, Old Reznov, and, well, wow. Also, their accents are, like, really, really bad.
In the name of Tsar Gorgy's ghost, attack!
Repel the enemy! Block the roads with the bodies of your fallen comrades!
After the Americans and Russians duke it out for a bit, the Exylvanians come out of nowhere and attack both of them, forcing them to team up and take them on. There's something about one of the Russian dudes secretly working with them, but then, like, he gets poisoned or something and he dies. But then they pull a plot twist and it turns out he's alive, but then he gets killed again. Jeez, I just want to drive tanks and fly jets and shoot stuff! Not watch a crappy CG soap opera. I mean, come on!
I know, Father.
Und wenn you are Emperor, Herr Kaiser.
Yes, Übel, I will make you governator.
Yeah, they just made an Arnold Schwarzenegger reference. Who the heck are these guys? Everyone else is clearly who they're supposed to be.
Freedom and democracy.
But like, these guys are pulling Transylvania, Germany, and now Austria! Oh, and before I forget, there's also a single Japanese commander. She has psychic power for some reason, speaks in riddles.
History has shown that the conqueror soon becomes the conquered, Countess.
And has, like, the most offensive accent I've ever heard in my life. So let's talk about how the game plays now. So you use the control stick to walk around, and as per the Norman shooters on the GameCube, the reticle is always automatically pointed directly in front of you, and tangent to whatever surface you're walking on. It actually plays exactly like StarFox's ground missions. Even the R button is used to go into free aiming mode. As we can see though, Battalion Wars has clearly improved upon StarFox's take on a third-person shooter for the GC. So for example, when you go into free aim mode, the soldier will crouch down to get his aim, making it feel a little better than StarFox when their waist would just turn around like jelly. Even more important than this, you can use the L button to lock onto enemies. Locking onto an enemy allows you to strafe around them, shooting at them constantly while you still have the freedom to move in whichever direction you please. Contrary to StarFox, where strafing was only allowed within a plane and didn't lock on. In my opinion, it's actually better than the lock-on mechanism in Star Wars Battlefront 2. In Battalion Wars, you get a subtle visual indication of which enemy will be locked onto, and forcing you to squeeze the L button down feels a lot more natural than just pressing a button. It feels like you're really grabbing them in your sight and then shooting. There are a couple of different kinds of soldiers in the game. The vehicles though, oh boy, I'm telling you, the vehicles are where this game shines. There's a lot more land vehicles than air ones. I really like the light tank. It's more or less the trademark of this game. I mean, it even appears in the box art. Something about the little turret, the small tracks, the gunner on the side, I don't know, it's just so perfect. The light tank sort of epitomizes everything this game is about. My favorite one has got to be the light recon though. Man, is it cool. The weird thing about the vehicles though is how they handle. Instead of using the control stick to steer the vehicle like a car, you use it to aim the reticle, which is good for tanks. I mean, your tank body might be going one way, but your turret needs to be aimed another way. That's great. The way it works though is that your vehicle will sort of autopilot its way into the direction you're pointing it in. It's a little weird for things like the recon. Like, say my recon hits something and spins out. My instinct reaction is to steer it back on track. The thing is though that it'll do this on its own as long as I keep the reticle straight. So when you're trying to steer yourself back on track, it kind of messes with the way the car is already trying to go, and it might lead you to get stuck even more. It's still fun though, don't get me wrong, but it just feels a little weird sometimes.
Nice landing! You transfer in from the Air Force?
As for air vehicles, most of them feel a little clunky, and it's basically all due to the awkward controller. Jets aren't so bad, but bombers are horrendous to handle because they move and turn so slowly. Helicopters are even worse because they fidget a lot, and using the R button to adjust your altitude means that you can't be changing heights and moving forwards or backwards at the same time. This is how you move forward, but this is how you adjust altitude. So you can be either exclusively moving around within a plane, or stopping and moving up and down, which is not how you want to pilot a helicopter. Especially in this game because most of the helicopter missions are slightly more action-based than the others. Like I said, the game is all about strategy, and while it does have a little more action than its brother, Advance Wars, it's still the sort of game that'll get you thinking. As a kid, I remember this game being extremely challenging. I had a tough time beating most of the levels, spending easily over 20 playthroughs for some of the tougher ones.
Mission failed.
With the exception of a couple of levels, most of the strategy boils down to nothing more than choosing which type of units to send ahead and which ones to keep behind. It's the way that these instances are presented though that makes them so great. This is one of my favorite levels in the game. It starts you off with a squad of guys who have to go save some prisoners. You've got bazooka guys and grunts while the enemy ahead has soldiers and a tank. Solution? Send your bazooka guys against the tank and send your grunts after the foot soldiers. Then you free the prisoners and get this really awesome driving sequence. Everything about this scene just fits so perfectly. It's also here that you notice how incredible this game looks. I mean, look at the motion blur, the exhaust fumes, even the muzzle flashes! The way the blur of the fire coming out of the gun just sort of cuts through everything else, it looks really good. Even the sound effects are perfect. How things will get muffled out as you drive past them. I don't know, I love this. After the chase, you reach a small friendly outpost. So now you get to sort of hunker down here and take on all the guys who were chasing you earlier and have finally caught up. They come in different waves though, so you know that when the tanks come, you've got to send your anti-tank guys. Or when the anti-tank guys come, you've got to retreat your tank and send out your infantry.
Nice work, Commander! You rescued—
A lot of these levels are just unforgivingly challenging though. Like this one where you have to take a small force of tanks and soldiers into the heart of Exylvania and destroy some key targets. This one never gives you a second to just sit down and really think through your approach. First off, you have a time limit. There's a ton of bridges with enemies waiting at the ends, MG towers that only your tanks can take out efficiently. And then when you get to the end, surprise! There's an ambush of artillery and tanks!
Yeah, but who pulled through?
Oh! Best commander! take you out, Exylvania, every day of the week, and twice on Thursday.
We made it, Commander. We've entered Exylvania.
Just as every other war game, Battalion Wars has the mandatory D-Day reenactment. This time though, you play the role of the guy on top of the hill. This is one of the rare missions that doesn't try to test your ability to think quickly and switch between units, but rather one that tests your ability to place units strategically. I know what they want me to do. I understand that I should have one artillery unit on each hill, then grunts in all of the MG nests, and the rest of my troops lined around my base. But it's just too hard to get set up properly. This mission is a great place to point out one of the game's major weaknesses. Very poor command controls. Like I've said, I'm pretty sure this is the third time I'm saying it, but this game is about strategy. The game lets you take control, and even change control between any unit on the fly, so that you can take part in the action yourself. While you're controlling one unit, you have a ton of command controls to still guide your other troops. You have 3 basic commands: follow, stay, and move forward. Move forward also doubles as attack if enemies are in the direction that you're pointing. Stay supposedly also doubles as defend, but it seems to me that any threat has to be really close before defenders actually start defending anything. You have a little icon at the bottom of the screen that lets you control your entire squad, which is very useful, especially when taking down helicopters. I really like that. You can take your whole squad of everybody and say, see that helicopter? Shoot at it! Just kill it! Kill it! All the fire! All the fire! Oh, that was great! You can expand this icon though, and send orders only to units of a specific type. This is what I was talking about earlier when I said you could choose which units to send out and bring back. You can actually expand this even further and send orders to individual units. So in the D-Day mission, this is how you would order your 2 artillery units to opposite sides of the beach. The problem arises now in the simple fact that when left idle for a short amount of time, the unit control menu will actually retract. So let's say you have the cursor on some particular type of unit and you send them out to attack somebody. When they're done, they actually automatically go back into following mode. Suddenly all of your perfectly placed troops begin to leave their posts and haul their way to your position. As sad as it is, most of the harder levels can attribute their difficulty to this. Any level that doesn't rely on just switching between types of troops and actually your placement of the troops is very difficult. And as we've explored before in SpongeBob, a challenging game is only really good if it's challenging by design. If a level is too hard to complete because the tools they give you to complete it are dull, you're not gonna have a good time. If the game weren't just so freaking charming, I don't think I would have the patience to complete it. Aside from this, Battalion Wars really has only one other glaring issue. Something that's actually made even worse because of the issue we previously discussed. Battalion Wars features, well, really bad AI. Remember the follow and stay command? Well, when they say follow, they're really not kidding. It feels like Boxing Day in New York City and you're that hot new product everybody wants. Christ, these guys will do anything possible to get as close to you as they can. I wouldn't point this out unless it was such a big issue. The guys in tanks are the worst. They'll just run over you and everyone else. I mean, they do know how to follow paths. They can avoid dangerous terrain, and they can get to you from miles and miles away. But when they're up next to you, that's when you start seeing problems. It's really annoying because most of the time you tell them to follow you as you move forward, intending for them to get behind you. But then they just ram you like they're playing bumper tanks. Sometimes ground units can literally get stuck under your tracks. I'm trying to turn here, but I straight up just can't. The only way I can get out of this is to switch to someone else and let the supposed collective AI fight with itself. The soldiers don't really ever make any logical decisions. Oh yeah, go for a swim, bro. Oh, I get it. All this war must be too stressful for you. Okay, enough messing around. Back to the front! When you tell them to attack an enemy, they basically get within range, lock on, and start shooting. They don't strafe or move around or work as a team. They just run up to something and start shooting. At least the enemies behave the same way, or we have a serious problem here. Because of all these problems with the AI, you generally play more of a blitz strategy than anything else. By that I mean as often as possible, you keep command of your entire squad. Even when it's a small target to take out, just send everybody. It's easier than trying to switch between which guy you want. And it's useful to do this because it just gets everybody out of your way, especially when you're driving a tank. So I'm doing this mission. I've got to rush and take out these guys ahead. I've got a couple of tanks as support, so that's great. Suddenly the enemy overwhelms us, and I'm down to just a handful of guys in a heartbeat. I know my only chance is to take control of my last remaining tank. Okay, well, I guess it's tank time. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Why is this tank all the way over? Holy Christ, are you serious? This tank has just been sitting here trying to shoot this one little enemy grunt, missing every single shot, and holy crap, look at how much damage he's taken! Oh, Jesus Christ, this is a sick joke. Well, now I've got to drive all the way back to where my other troops were massacred. You could have stopped this bloodshed, but where were you? Where were you when your comrades needed you? You were off being a freaking idiot! Gah! Ooh, and I have jets now! Okay, so what's the new objective?
If our heavy tanks are destroyed, then...
Oh, wait, now you tell me I'm supposed to...
tanks are destroyed, You have brought shame and dishonor to the Solar Empire, Commander.
Oh, well that didn't last so long, huh? Oh my god. I'd really like to meet the QA testers for this game, honestly, just to hear the stories of how they did these. Alright, so let's try out the last mission of the game. Now here's a quick story. The first time I ever beat this mission, and well, this whole game, I did it with only one soldier remaining. The absolute last part of the last mission of this game includes capturing 2 enemy flags in a base. The problem is you can't do it alone. By the time you've captured one and go off to go catch the other one, enemies have already respawned at the first one and are capturing it back. When I beat it though, for a moment I had 2 guys left. I managed to position one at one flag and the other at the other flag. After capturing the first flag, enemies respawned and killed my capturer, but he was lucky enough to kill both of them before he died, giving my last remaining soldier just enough time to finish capturing his flag and win the game. So let's try this again. Here we go, last mission. Alright, this is cool. What have we got? Okay, we got a light unit. That's not so great. Okay, the Russians are helping us out. They've got some helicopters shooting out these turrets. There's a lot of turrets. I'm not really sure which way to go. Oh, okay, just sent me back. I thought I was supposed to go that way. It looked like a road, but yeah, whatever. I mean, if you don't want me to go somewhere, you could just put a big rock or something. Alright, so let's fast forward this a bit. Blah, 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 blah. And look at this exact same thing, down to 2 guys, a grunt and a rocket guy. The rocket guys are definitely the most important guys in the game. They're the only ones who can effectively damage airborne enemies, but you can also use them to hit land targets if you have enough patience. The problem is that you kind of have to get really close because the air missiles just spin out of control if they go too far, but you also have to keep enough distance so that your missiles don't kill you. Ah, crap, my other dude got killed by the bomber! I can't capture these 2 flags at once now. Holy crap, there's an enemy battle station over there. Holy crap! Wait, he's not coming after me. You know what, I don't know why, but I'm not complaining. I'll try my best. The only true loss is to give up, and I am no quitter.
Your army has thrown itself upon our walls and...
Yeah, I'm not trying this again. After playing this game, and in particular this mission, I've noticed another problem with the game. This is the only war game I've ever played that doesn't allow you to respawn your own soldiers. Enemies are quick to supply reinforcements when they need it, but you? No! Occasionally you receive reinforcements from supply choppers or rescuing POWs, but all these events are scripted. There's no way to demand more troops at any point. Whatever troops you started off with at the beginning are more or less what you'll get. It's a shame though because it never feels like you have enough. Look, this is all the rocket guys I have. If I lose them all, I'm 100% defenseless against aerial strikes. So what you could do, and what I actually do, is play as a rocket guy as long as I can, to ensure that at least one of them won't die. Which is no fun. It's no fun to be restricted to one character type to play as. This game definitely asks for some resource-based or even control point-based respawning method. Besides all that, Battalion Wars was the first of its kind. Without a doubt, one of the best-looking games from the GameCube generation and loads of fun. It's a game that everyone who ever played treasured so much. I would have really liked to see them improve upon Battalion Wars' unique strategy/action style of gameplay.
Battalion Wars was a GameCube exclusive title for 2005. You might be able to tell from the art style it's actually a part of the Advance Wars.
Hello and welcome to the end screen once again. This is your host. I'm your host. I'm the host today. Hello, hi. Hey. Just in case you were wondering why I had like an epileptic seizure like 2 seconds ago, it's because when I wrote this script, I had an idea for what I wanted to do for like showing that there's a Battalion Wars 2 and that I'll probably do it someday. I will do it someday. I had this idea for like as I was saying the last line to sort of like look over and all of a sudden there's the game and then something like that, but I wasn't sure. I had some other ideas too, but I wasn't sure, so literally in my script I wrote in brackets dramatic something. So I just went with that. That was, I mean, I don't know what that was, but I'm pretty sure you could call it a dramatic something if you wanted to. So that's enough of that. Let's get back to business. So first off, this is something new I'm going to try to do. From this point on, I'm going to try to stack all the games I've reviewed / analyzed / looked back at. I don't know what to call these. I think the best thing to call these at this point is actually a look back, because this is really kind of the last time I'm ever going to play most of these games. You know, this was a great game I used to play. Why was it good? Why was it bad? Let's take a look at it. It's an old game anyways. I'm going to go through it. I'm going to say everything I have to say about it, and I never have to revisit this game again, and I can move forward. That's what it is to me. I've literally not played any of these games since I talked about them. So yeah, I'm going to stack these here, and also what I'm doing is I'm taking the scripts for these, and I'm going to... I'll do it right now. Right there. Stacked. So I don't know, I think it'll be kind of cool to see this, you know, progress. I'm also on this shelf. I'm going to try to keep props and things that I've used in previous videos, and it all stems from the fact that I'm very messy because the SpongeBob guys that I brought for my first video, the stupid SpongeBob video, have been laying on my desk and laying on my clothes and laying all over the place. So I figure whatever I bring in here I'm going to keep. That's why I have the pedometer going from last video. So I think it's kind of cool because I think with time this area will sort of turn into everything that this is. Mother of God, Mario, what is the matter with you? Besides that, I have nothing else to say. I'm following up with those videos that I've talked about that I'm doing last time. If you've been watching my end screens, you know what I should be doing next. Potentially, maybe, I don't know. You can look forward to my video review of Battalion Wars, which I bought recycled, and I just started playing Battalion Wars 2 today. I haven't touched it before the writing of the script, before this. I have no idea what this game is about. I've never seen anything about this game. In fact, I actually forgot that Battalion Wars had a sequel when I was planning to do Battalion Wars to begin with. And I'm already seeing that some of my wishes may have actually been granted. It's really good. There's some problems with the... We're gonna get on that when we get on that. Don't worry about it. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. I love you guys. It's not weird this time. Now I'm just gonna say it. I love you guys. You guys are the best.